I bailed my sister out of jail, paid her rent for 6 months, and let her kids stay with me so they could finish school. Yesterday, I found a for sale sign on my lawn. She'd forged my name on the deed and sold the house while I was at work. When I confronted her, she said, "You're too soft. That's why I win." But she doesn't know what's coming next. Let me get this out first, I didn't want any of this. I'm not someone who looks for drama. I don't like to fight, I hate conflict, and I usually let stuff slide because it's easier that way. But this crossed a line I can't ignore. My name's Rick. I live in Lebanon, Missouri. I'm 49, run my own mechanic shop just outside town. I've had a quiet life for the most part. Got divorced 10 years ago, no kids. I bought my house back in 2007. It's nothing fancy, but I worked my ass off for it. It's mine. Was mine. Everything started 6 months ago when my sister Shannon called me from jail. She said she got arrested for stealing baby stuff, diapers, wipes, formula. Said her boyfriend beat her and ran off with her money. She was crying, scared, and didn't know who else to call. Now, I'll be the first to admit Shannon's made some dumb decisions in her life. She's always had a knack for picking the worst men. But she's my sister. She's blood. I bailed her out, picked her up, brought her to my place. Her boys, Elijah and Devin, stayed with me too so they wouldn't have to deal with the chaos. She promised it would only be for a couple weeks while she figured things out. Weeks turned into months. At first, I didn't mind. The kids were good. Polite, quiet, they kept to themselves. Elijah even started helping me out in the garage on Saturdays. But Shannon? She got worse. She slept until noon most days, left messes all over the house, and never once offered to help with groceries or bills. When I mentioned she should maybe look for a job, she said she needed time to heal emotionally. I kept paying her rent even after she got a place with Section 8. She'd come up short every month. I'd cover the difference. She never thanked me, not really. Always acted like she was owed. Still, I figured it was just stress. I told myself she'd get back on her feet. That maybe she'd start thinking about her kids more and herself less. Then yesterday happened. I got home from work and saw it. A big red and white for sale sign on my front lawn. My first thought was that it had to be a mistake. But then I noticed people walking through my house. A man and woman in their 30s were touring my kitchen with a real estate agent like they owned the place. I snapped. Told them to get out. The couple looked confused, the agent was all flustered, and I told her this was my damn house and I didn't authorize anything. She said, "But you did. You signed the deed over last month." I said, "Like hell I did." She showed me the documents. A deed transfer. My name. My forged signature. My house was already in escrow. Shannon had filed a forged deed at the county office and sold my house out from under me. While I was at work. While I was paying her rent. I couldn't breathe. My hands were shaking as I drove straight to her apartment. She opened the door in pajamas, holding a bag of chips like nothing was wrong. I threw the papers on the table and said, "What the hell did you do?" She didn't even blink. Just smirked and said, "You're too soft. That's why I win." She didn't flinch. She didn't look sorry. She was proud of it. And in that moment, something inside me snapped. I've always been the one to forgive, to be patient, to give second chances. Not this time. She doesn't know it yet, but she just started a war. And I've already started planning my revenge. I left her apartment without saying a word. I was boiling inside, but I didn't want to blow up right there. I needed to think. I needed a plan. The next morning, I didn't go to work. I went straight to the county recorder's office. I told them I needed to see every document filed on my property in the last 3 months. They handed me copies. There it was, my name, my forged signature, and Shannon's name listed as the new owner just 2 weeks ago. The notary stamp was real. But when I looked closer, the witness names were fake. Just random scribbles. The phone number listed for verification was a disconnected burner line. I filed a fraud complaint right then and there. The clerk said they'd investigate, but it might take a while. Couldn't wait. I needed to make sure that sale didn't go through. I went to the real estate office listed on the sign. I asked to talk to the listing agent. She was the same one from the house. I showed her my ID, my property tax bill, my utility records, all in my name. She looked sick when she realized what had happened. "I'm going to report this to my broker," she said. "If this is fraud, we can freeze the sale, but you need to get legal help now." I hired the best real estate attorney in town. Expensive, but he knew his stuff. He got an emergency injunction to freeze the sale. That bought me some time. Meanwhile, Shannon still had no clue what I was doing. That same week, I went back through all the bank transfers I'd sent her. The Venmo payments. The receipts for the rent I paid. I printed everything, labeled it, filed it. Then I sat down with Elijah and Devin. I didn't want to drag the kids into it, but I had to know. Had she said anything about the house? Elijah looked uncomfortable but finally said, "She said it was hers now. She told us we might be moving to Florida once it sells. She was going to take the money and run. Not on my watch." The next twist came a few days later. My lawyer called. "Rick, you're not going to believe this. Your sister filed for a restraining order against you this morning. Claims you threatened her life." I sat down hard. I hadn't even raised my voice at her. "She's trying to make you look unstable," he said. "If she gets this granted, it could complicate your case." I was stunned, but not surprised. She wanted to paint me as the crazy brother, the angry mechanic, the guy with no wife, no kids, easy to frame. But she underestimated one thing. I'm not stupid, and I don't quit when I've been wronged. I showed up to court that Friday for the restraining order hearing. Shannon was there, looking like she walked out of a Lifetime movie, hair pulled back, no makeup, a tissue in her hand like she was ready to cry on cue. Her lawyer stood up and read a statement about how I was emotionally unstable, that I threatened to hurt her after voluntarily signing over the house. She even brought a fake text message. A screenshot from some spoofed number that said, "I'll make you pay, bitch." It was obviously fake. The grammar wasn't mine. The message wasn't from my number. But it rattled me. She had come prepared to destroy me. I thought I was done for until my attorney stood up and calmly said, "Your Honor, we have proof of fraud." He handed over the documents showing the deed had a fake witness, the notary stamp that didn't match public records, and a sworn statement from the notary's office confirming they never saw me. Then he handed over security footage from my shop the day she claimed I signed the deed. There I was, under a car, working all day. The judge looked from Shannon to me and back. Her face dropped. Her lawyer went quiet. The judge denied the restraining order. But that wasn't the end of it. The court ordered a temporary freeze on the sale. But while we waited for a formal investigation, I started digging deeper. One of Shannon's old friends, someone she stiffed on rent years ago, DM'd me on Facebook after hearing what happened. Said Shannon bragged for weeks about how she'd finally found a way out of Missouri. Claimed she met a guy online and they were planning to move to Tampa with a fresh start and a fat check. That's when it clicked. She wasn't just stealing my house. She was planning to vanish. I checked the boys' school records. She had already requested their transcripts be sent to a high school in Florida. She thought she had one. So I did something I never thought I'd do. I called Child Protective Services. I told them everything about the fraud, the plan to move across state lines using stolen money, the way she left the kids with me most of the time while she slept or vanished for hours. I gave them copies of everything I had. The woman on the line said, "Thank you. This isn't the first complaint we've had about Ms. Underscore." That hit me like a punch. There had been others. She had a record with CPS. But this time I had proof. Paper trails. Witnesses. A motive. And I wasn't stopping. The CPS report triggered a chain reaction. They interviewed Elijah and Devin at school. Quietly so Shannon wouldn't know. The boys didn't lie. They told the truth about being left alone. About how they stayed with me most nights. About her plan to move to Florida with some guy they'd never met. 2 days later, CPS showed up at her apartment with the police. I wasn't there, but I heard from my lawyer. They took the boys into protective custody. Temporarily placed them with me, since I was the one who'd been caring for them anyway. Shannon lost it. She showed up at my house that night, screaming in the driveway. Yelling that I stole her children, that I was jealous of her success. She was barefoot, crying, totally unraveling. The neighbors called the cops. She was arrested on the spot for trespassing and violating the emergency injunction on the house. Then came the fraud charges. Turns out forging a deed and trying to sell someone's home is a felony in Missouri. Add in the fake notary and the attempted move across state lines with minors using illegal funds, and it just kept stacking. She pleaded not guilty. Said she was mentally unstable at the time. Claimed she thought I gave her the house as a gift. That it was all a misunderstanding. Nobody bought it. The trial lasted 6 days. I testified. So did the boys. So did the woman at the real estate office. My lawyer shredded her defense. The jury came back in under an hour. Guilty. On all counts. The judge didn't hold back. She got 3 years in prison with no parole for the first 18 months. Lost custody of the boys indefinitely. The sale of the house was declared void. I got it back. But here's the part that still messes with me. I blamed her. For months I hated her. But I also blamed myself. I let her in. I kept giving when she kept taking. I ignored the red flags. I thought love meant always saying yes. It doesn't. Love sometimes means saying no. Not again. Elijah and Devin still live with me. I got full guardianship. They're good kids. They've been through hell, but they're stronger than she ever gave them credit for. Sometimes people ask if I regret calling CPS, if I regret pressing charges. I don't. She didn't just try to steal my house. She tried to bury me with a smile on her face. Now she's the one locked away, and I finally sleep at night. You call that revenge? I call it justice.